Welcome to the Crypto Rainn channel. I'm your host, Jay Rainn. Today, we're going to take a look at the potential costs of different choices. We all have different choices in our lives, and choices determine our outcomes. Specifically, we'll look at our guesses of the cost of holding certain things versus other things. What is the cost of holding dollars in the coming 6 months instead of Bitcoin? What is the cost of holding Bitcoin versus high-risk alts? Is it better to hold one over the other? Well, that absolutely depends on the outcomes you are reaching for, as well as what risks you're willing to take. Now, I can't tell you what to do. This isn't financial advice. I'm just a crypto investor who has gone from thousands of dollars in fiat value to millions in fiat value through crypto in the past 4 years. Don't know everything, but what I do know is how to take bets where the odds are in my favor, combined with some patience and letting it play out. Join our Telegram group, as well as my admins are helping put together a contest of giveaways for the Eternity Chain Shaquille O'Neal NFTs the Eternity Chain has offered to send us. All right, we got this brief intro and we are going to get into the meat of it. Join me, Rainmakers. Yes, definitely join us in the Rainmaker family. We're here to create the most informed audience in all of crypto. Now, my background is as an investor. Prior to crypto, I'd been doing investment specifically in mostly real estate for 20 years. I'm great at that, and there are a lot of similarities between real estate investment and crypto investment. There are some differences, though, too, and we have very condensed, somewhat predictable cycle with crypto in that every 4 years we tend to have a massive blow off top followed by a big retracement, or as we call it, the crypto winter, and then it gears up steam and it does it all over again. Now, in the coming decade or two, it's probably going to happen less and less that these peaks and valleys are going to be more compressed. And so we have a great opportunity during this run and the one that follows to still make amazing gains. And I hope you strap in for that ride and you commit yourself to the 5-year game plan. All right, what are we looking at today? Well, let's look at Bitcoin and look at Bitcoin breaking solidly above this resistance. Now, it hasn't broken all-time highs, but this is a solid breakout heading up towards all-time highs. So it's at 61,359 right now. That's impressive. I also want to take a look at this. I know we looked at this again today. This is the crypto total market cap, but look at this. It wicked up to almost the previous all-time high, and right now we're at 2.497 trillion. We're essentially, if we go to the previous all-time high, looks like we're 100 billion away from that all-time top. That is pretty close. All right, I know, this is exciting. Now, it could come up and bounce off like we talked about yesterday. We don't know how this will play out in the next week to 2 weeks. But eventually it is going to break through that. And there are a lot of things lining up to push us much higher. So that's why we're going to talk about the cost of holding different things. Now, this is Bitcoin dominance, and we saw Bitcoin dominance shoot back up. Now, Bitcoin dominance, for those of you who are new, is the dominance of Bitcoin's market cap versus the whole crypto market cap. And right now, that dominance is at 46%. So it went really low as all the altcoins really had some massive gains, and Bitcoin wasn't doing anything. And now Bitcoin's taken off, and a lot of the altcoins have been staying still. What I predicted a week and a half ago, was that Bitcoin, I think it was about, where would it have been? About right here, that Bitcoin's dominance would continue to increase versus the alts. And it would start to be really tempting for people to sell their alts and roll it into Bitcoin. And if you were going to do that, a week ago or 10 days ago was the right time to do that. Because at some point that reverses and altcoins go crazy. This is the total market cap excluding Bitcoin. So you see that the alts are still lagging behind. You notice how the total crypto market cap is really close to breaking an all-time high. And still we're a little ways away from it here. And my guess is these will kind of trade sideways as Bitcoin most likely continues to run. All right, so what is the cost of holding, say, dollars versus Bitcoin? That's what I think about. In the university level, I studied economics, and I started to understand the way my brain always worked, because my mind thinks in economics all the time, though I didn't have the words for things like this. What they told me makes sense, and in life you have to think about the opportunity cost. So what is the opportunity cost of other choices you could have made? And so if you're holding a lot of money in fiat currency right now, that's exciting. You can have it at the bank, and you can maybe be earning 1% interest in bonds. And that's really exciting. Not really. It's not exciting at all. It's actually absolutely terrible. But it's the way the system is set up, right? So we're trained since we're young to put our savings into the bank and to put it in CDs and bonds and make. Right now, those bond yields can be 1% or 2% for a long period of time. And what doesn't work about that is that the value of fiat currency is devaluing faster than the interest that you're making. So you're not even making any headway. Though it is smart if you're spending a lot less than you make, because then you're accumulating savings. And I know, like, spending is so tempting, but if you're not saving more than you make, then how are you ever going to grow the wealth that's going to set you free? How are you going to invest in crypto or other assets that can appreciate in value and give you the wealth that you're looking for? Because if you're here in the space for crypto, my guess is you're here for the life-changing wealth, maybe also for the technology, but really what really grabs most of our attention is we're here for the life-changing wealth and the gains, right? That's what attracted me. I was in real estate for specifically that reason, and it's amazing what you can do over 30 years. But when I saw crypto, it's like, it's absolutely ridiculous what you can accomplish over a 5-year time period if you learn how to think like an investor and you follow correct principles so that you're taking smart bets where your chances of winning are higher than your chance of losing. That's why I talk about the principles I do in the rap. I was playing that rap at the beginning. I'll play that at the end. I specifically had that written to reinforce the principles of successful crypto investing. See, when you buy when things are running really strong, what you're doing is you're taking a bet where your risk of losing is higher than your rewards for winning, or maybe even they're the same. I like to take bets where my risk of winning is a lot higher than my risk of losing. And also, if I win, my rewards are much higher than what I could potentially lose. And so that's why I buy when it's boring. And then I have the patience that I hold for longer periods of time. So let's say that you invested some money into crypto. Well, first Bitcoin. And let's say you have $60,000. What is one Bitcoin right now? In fact, we're going to check. Let's just call that $60,000. I think it's at $59,000. So if you were holding that for 1 year and you had it in a bank, so times 1.0, let's say you get a whole 2% for a year. Wow, you went from 60,000 to 61,200 in a year. What if you had that in Bitcoin? And let's take just kind of an idea. I would guess the average of where I've heard that Bitcoin is going to go by the end of this market. And let's say you time it pretty well and you take your profits out right at that point. So you have one Bitcoin and it goes to 180,000. So that's going to be a 3x from here. And you went from 60,000 to 180,000. Now with whatever amount you're using, and I recommend you only use money that you can't afford to lose, because if you use money you can't afford to lose, what's the challenge with that is that you have no ability to be patient if things take longer to play out than is expected. And in crypto, that often happens. It happens more than you would realize. Like, even though we're talking about these numbers, things going well today, there could be some news that comes out that for 3 weeks or 4 weeks spikes the market down. And then it's like, oh no, I'm wrong. And a lot of people panic sell. And then guess what? It goes up exactly like expected. It just took longer than you thought. And so if you're using money you can't afford to lose, you end up panic selling during that point, because it's hard enough not to panic sell just being a human being. But when that is going on, your likelihood of panic selling goes way, way up. All right, so you've now turned 60,000 into 180,000. Let's just say you sold it perfect. So your opportunity cost of holding fiat is minus 61,200. Your opportunity cost of going with fiat, which, you know, if you listen to the politicians and the bankers, they'll tell us, yeah, holding dollars is not risky. In some ways, it's less volatility, although it is eroding in value because of so much printing. So in part, they're right. So you took the riskier bet of Bitcoin, but you took it at a time where likely, it's not guaranteed, likely it's going to have a huge increase in value based on the market cycles that we've seen over the past 10 years with Bitcoin, that every 4 years you have a parabolic move with Bitcoin. And so if it plays out like that and it goes to 180,000, you made 120,000 gains, and you got your initial capital back as well. That's fantastic. The opportunity cost of holding just fiat during that time is 118,800. However, what if you had put that in, say, 10 different altcoins? And they're fairly low market cap altcoins, so they're pretty high risk. And on average, you get a 10x. And the way that usually plays out is a couple of them, it depends on how good you are at picking them, but let's assume that a couple do nothing. Let's assume that some do tremendously and other ones don't do well at all. In fact, I'm going to pull my calculator over to where you can see it. And so let's assume that it goes pretty well for you and 2 don't do anything, but some do some, and some do like 50x's, and on average you get to a 10x. Now, is that possible? We're going to look at some examples of what some altcoins did last cycle, and we'll get a feel for it. 10x is absolutely possible. I don't know how good you are at picking your altcoins, and that does make a difference. And nobody knows exactly what's going to pump the most. That's why many people choose to diversify across 10. But a few of them, if they 50x and 1 or 2 100x's, and a few of them go to 0, it's pretty reasonable to expect that your average is at least 10x. So if you go 60,000 times 10 equals $600,000, right? So now, what was your opportunity cost by holding Bitcoin? Let's do that. So 60,000 times 10 minus the 180,000 you could have had from holding Bitcoin if Bitcoin tripled during that time. And so the opportunity cost of holding Bitcoin was $420,000. Now, this does assume that you take profits at appropriate measures with your altcoins, because here's what I can tell you about altcoins. They're extremely volatile, and if the market plays out with a large parabolic move, on average, they're going to outperform Bitcoin by a lot. However, when it does flip around, if you get too greedy and hold on to it too long, at some point it's going to turn. It's going to turn hard, and you can see all those gains you hope to have completely erased. So we will be talking more about taking profit strategies as we see the market going parabolic. So your opportunity cost of holding Bitcoin was quite substantial, though, $420,000 from 60,000. That's how much it cost you. Now you turned 60,000 into $600,000. And so if you had held Bitcoin, you would have made $420,000 less. Now, of course, there's tax implications for all of this, and most places around the world understand you're still going to pay the tax man. That's just part of life. No, nobody loves it. But do you really want to live your life looking over your shoulder for the tax man? Probably not, right? All right, so Do you see why I'm excited about this? Now, is 10x possible? Yes. I would say it's probable even. Is it guaranteed? There are no guarantees in this. If you're looking for guaranteed, go for your bond yields. And that's why bond yields pay so little, because they're almost guaranteed. You know, if you want complete guaranteed, then get yourself like a safe in the bottom of your house, like drilled out, and put your money in there, and that's as close to guaranteed as you can get. There are no guarantees in crypto. We don't know how it's going to work out. So if you're looking for guarantees, you are absolutely in the wrong game. But do you see why I'm excited? Because I've been waiting for this period for 3 years now. I didn't understand about the crypto cycles when I was brand new in crypto. My first year, you know, I started this time October last cycle. In fact, about a week later, it was like later October when I started, and Bitcoin was about $6,700. All right, I have some cool stuff. I want to take you back into the history of cryptocurrency and show you some cool things. Let's look back at some altcoins. See, one of the challenges with altcoins is you don't know which ones are going to do incredible and which ones aren't. But I'm going to share with you some things that you're going to be like, oh my gosh, that looks like exactly what the market's been doing with some of the altcoins I've been watching. Okay, so this is Tron. Now, Tron hasn't really been successful. They did a lot of development and everything. They made ridiculous amounts of money, and it seems like they've just been coasting ever since. So, yeah, that sometimes happens with projects. But I want to take you back to when they were working really, really hard and hadn't made it yet. Oh my gosh, look at that. Look at this pattern. You actually got decreasing peaks here. And right up until the end of October here, I mean, their price was sitting at 0.2 cents. Then what happened? And I know somebody, see, I was new at this space, and I hadn't been there, and so, you know, I listened to every YouTube video I could, people who had been in this space that I hope knew more about it than me, and I found a lot of people with YouTube videos do not know hardly anything about investing. But I did get some valuable information. One was telling me that he was holding Tron, and he was watching every time it peaked, it was getting less, and so he sold, where at? Right at 0.21 cents. Yeah, so my guess is it was somewhere around here or somewhere around here. And then what happened? Well, boom, all the way to over 20 cents. So he missed out on 100x gains. But watch, if you don't take profits on the way up, look what then happened, right? So he went from 20 cents all the way to 5 cents. Back to about 7.5 cents, and then, wow, way down again. Now, it never quite got down to those same numbers, but still, yeah, and when did he sell? He sold right here. So do you see why I'm excited? Now, the timing might be different. Maybe this boom happens starting this week. Maybe this boom starts 3 weeks from now or 6 weeks from now. I stopped trying to pick exactly when that's going to happen and just watch the signs so I can get a general idea of when it's going to happen. Let me share with you another one. This is XRP or Ripple. Now, I know I don't cover Ripple a lot, and I know there are a lot of you who really love it. In fact, one of our Telegram community members provided some additional information on some, honestly, I had some information wrong on it. I thought the 3 founders had sold off huge amounts of their XRP, and it's just one of the former founders that did, because one of my beefs with XRP is, well, if the founders themselves don't even believe in it, why should I? Why are they selling off huge amounts of their holdings? And with the numbers I had, perhaps I read an article that was just straight up wrong, and that happens because just because it's in the news does not mean it's true. And now it looks like it was just one of them, so I like it a little bit more, but I still don't hold any. I did hold some, and I sold it because there were just other things that could perform better. Now, my guess is that they win their lawsuit, and they will boom. In fact, this descending wedge you see here is setting up for a big breakthrough. But where can they really go from here, right? They can beat their all-time highs, but their market cap is already substantially high. 53 billion. So where can it really go? Can it really go to 500 billion and 10x from here? Chances of that are small. There's a lot of other bets that have a better chance, in my opinion, of going 10 to 100x from here than they do. And that's why I don't hold a lot of it. But look, if you were holding it here. And then it did have a boom, and we're going to take it right to October. Stop giving us the months here. But look at this, during this was the crypto winter. And then early that year, notice how we had some altcoins run early this year. And actually this started, yeah, okay. There we go. This is showing all the way up to November here. So we were about right here with XRP like last cycle, if we won't go exactly 4 years back. Now, I suspect that we have lengthening cycles in general. So I don't know that the big boom is going to happen November and December. In fact, I'm going to share with you a thought that might happen right near the end of December. And it's just a guess. But then, so right here you could have bought, or a lot of people panic sold at 3 cents. And they saw it go to actually 337. I think it actually went a little bit higher than that, but this is showing at 337. So imagine if you had sold out here, how disappointed you would be. And it's tempting. I mean, look how the market seemed like it was doing nothing. But also see this pattern. Look at what we're seeing here. Oh my gosh, it's the exact same pattern. Do you see why I'm excited? There's lots of reasons to be excited. And I don't hold any XRP. You're seeing this pattern across a lot of things. Now, Cardano, I did not know about Cardano when I was new. I'm going to share with you one of the tokens that I went really heavy in because I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And yeah, so let's see if we can find exactly where. So we want to find October 2017. So it's right here. Now this is Cardano. Cardano was doing not very much. So you could have bought Cardano back then for 2 cents. Now at the time, Cardano wasn't the powerhouse it is now. And if you watch my video with Daniel Friedman from IOHK, a great video to watch to see what the early days of what is now a top level project, a top 5 coin market cap project, it's been as high as top 3 coin market cap project. But, you know, back in the early days, they were still a concept and they were still working on it. And so back here, they were still pushing through the FUD of people running around calling them a scam. In fact, even 2 or 3 years after this, you had people running around and calling them a scam, even up until they finally did their smart contract launch just a month ago. And so they weren't unknown. They weren't a powerhouse. They were considered very risky. And you could have bought it for 2 cents. And then what happened with those 2 cents? Well, it went all the way up to $1.11 it shows here, but it's $1.40 that it hit. And so back in November, they were doing nothing. And so you would have got a solid, actually $1.40. Say you had taken the gains out early at $1, you would have got a solid 50 cents from the 2 cent price. So do you see why the numbers that I'm sharing with you can happen? Now, it has everything to do with how your picks turn out if you're investing in altcoins. And because I can't give financial advice, I can't tell you which ones to pick. And even if I was a financial advisor, I wouldn't tell you specifically which ones to pick because I'd be depriving you of the opportunity of doing the research and feeling it out for yourself. Because here's what I know. When you make bad picks, you learn better. You learn better than when you always make good picks. And so sometimes your losses provide the best education for you. And it sucks. Now here's one I invested heavily in 2017 because I didn't know any better. When I say we're new in crypto and we usually buy what our friends did well with, that's exactly what I did. And I had a friend who was in the ICO of Electroneum and he got in at a penny. Now, the way they did their ICO, there was many people who got in much cheaper than a penny. I came in time to catch this at, that's November, October. It wasn't tradable yet when I got it, so I had to wait. So I put some in Coinbase because that's the vehicle most people use to put money in, especially back then. Put some in Coinbase, and then I had to wait for a while, and then I put more in. And when it was finally unlocked, I think I paid about 4 cents for some, and bought a bunch. In fact, everything I could at first, and then I put more Bitcoin in, had to wait the holding period, and I bought some more of this. Where did my little sliders go? I bought some more of this in November, and I bought some at 7 cents, I remember, and it went all the way to like 12 cents. Yeah, and then it came down, and I bought some more, and I thought, oh, Electroneum, they were going to do mining on your phone. So essentially you could have your phone mine for you. And I did start to hear a lot of politically correct buzzwords from them, and I don't know how into political correctness you are, but when I hear companies saying politically correct buzzwords all the time, usually, I don't know why, the correlation is the performance of that company or project tends to be less. So I did start to get concerned because everything was about politically correct buzzwords all the time. And I was like, oh, really? Well, maybe I'm wrong on this time, because Electroneum I just thought was so cool, but I was new. I didn't know how to tell a good project from a bad project. If I had known what I was doing, I would have been throwing my money at Cardano, which had better long-term prospects than Electroneum. And their project never really caught on, and they're still around, and they're still working hard, and the CEO is a good guy. But look what they did. I went from probably an average price buying in at about 6 cents, and I actually sold some. I know it went higher than this because I sold some at 21 cents. Sold a bunch at 18 and a little bit at 16 cents. Now, fortunately for me, I did cash almost completely out of Electroneum at these highs. But I rolled that into other projects. And those then did good, and that's how I went from 15,000 to 165,000, because I didn't even get a 10x gain here. I just got a 3x gain, and I rolled that into a number of projects and diversified across a few things. But then I held all of them as the market then crashed, and you see how severe that crash was. So even Electroneum, they peaked out at over 21 cents, even though it doesn't show it here, and then it came all the way down to 2 cents, and then eventually went down to half a penny. Now this project is still around, and it might do well. You're seeing the same pattern here like that we saw before, and my guess is even they have a big pickup as money comes into the market, and people don't know which projects to pick, and they buy what their friends made money on, so maybe it has a big pickup again. But that's what a lot of these work now. I don't know anybody stocking up on Tron these days, but maybe you're seeing the same pattern here. So somebody's buying Tron, and XRP, same pattern. Cardano, slightly different pattern, but Cardano's starting to realize the vision that they've laid out, and people are getting it. Like, they're feeling like Cardano's not very much of a risk, because they're seeing that what Charles says is going to happen doesn't always hit the timelines of when he says it's going to happen, but he still does exactly what he says he's going to do. And then Electroneum has the same thing. So where are things going to go from here? Well, I'm really excited for the future. Our total market cap, look at this, Bitcoin's total market cap broke $1 trillion. So many people said that this was never going to happen. I know it hit that before, and then it retraced. It's back above it. It's solidly above $1 trillion again. And it's going to go to new heights that are going to be absolutely incredible. And so if it does 3x from here, that's going to take it to about $3.5 trillion. Who knows? Our total market cap might be $10 trillion. If we look at this, we're at 2.5, so that's a total of 4x from here. Maybe it even goes higher, and then it'll likely pull back. So be wary of that. We will be talking about taking profit strategies, and my plan this time, and maybe I'm a little bit burned from last time because I didn't do it, so maybe I'm going to end up pulling out too much, and maybe it doesn't have as big of lows as it did last time. But that's my plan for now, is to take most of it out into stable coins and other things that then have some passive income, while I have it sitting on the sidelines waiting for things to get cheap again, at which point I'll be buying back in after paying my taxes. Now you're like, wow, you're creating taxable events and you're going to have to pay taxes on that. Yes, you do. You have to pay taxes on profits. But even if you're in a place that you have to pay 50% taxes on your profits, so let's say you make your goal and not only hit $1 million, but say you hit $2 million. And then you create taxable events and you have to pay $1 million in tax on that. Say your total income tax is 50%. And let's say you start with $1,000, so almost everything is taxable, right? Well, okay, so now you have $1 million in equity. That's a lot better because now you paid your taxes on that. You don't owe any more taxes on that. And now you have $1 million to play with during the bear market. However, if you had kept that invested and it went to 2 million and then it retraced all the way down to say 500,000 or 200,000, well, number one, you had no taxable event because you kept it in exactly what it was in, but you're way worse off. So I would rather harvest my gains, pay the taxes that then incurs, and then have that to where I can then put it in when the market gets low and then ride it up again. And yes, if I then sell or do some trades that creates taxable events again, that's just the cost of doing business. Now, if you, in some jurisdictions, they differentiate between short-term capital gains and long-term capital gains, and generally long-term capital gains is a lower tax rate. So it does make sense to hold for longer periods in those jurisdictions. The U.S. may be charging their long-term capital gains rate. We'll see. There's a lot of fear about that, which is going to create an interesting dynamic. So here we are. Let's look at Bitcoin and what possible dynamic that could create. So there's a couple ways this could go. So it still could go here, and then it still could end up rounding this and coming back down for then a pickup later. It could play out that way. I don't know. Really, just because it wicked up here doesn't guarantee that it won't turn around, come back down, and then we end up having a parabolic move later, and it would probably be steeper than that. It would probably go like this. It could go like this and then like that. I'm more in the line of that, but one thing that might happen is there's a lot of fear in the United States, talking to some people that I know, about big tax increases on long-term capital gains next year. So you probably will see a sell-off that, not by everybody, but by some, right around here, where you will see a sell-off period, and that will push things down for a little bit. Now, wherever it's at, you'll see a sell-off, and the reason they're selling off isn't because they don't believe in Bitcoin. They're just trying to create their taxable event in the year 2021, so that if next year there is a tax hike on long-term capital gains, then that usually doesn't go back to the previous year. That usually only affects the year going forward. And so if it does play out, that's what they're hedging against. And because it's an unknown, many are probably going to take that hedge, create the taxable event in 2021, and then that resets their basis, because they might even sell and then they could literally rebuy back in, but they purposely created that taxable event so that they could then have a new threshold for where their taxes are. So you might see some selling off, and sometimes the way it plays out is they sell off here and then they wait till the new year and then they buy and it takes off like that. So watch for an event that might do this. Now, that's wherever we're at, whether we're all the way up here, in fact, whether we're all the way up here or whatever. And so say it goes like this and we're way up here, maybe it does that. Just a thought. All right, now if you're ready to level up your crypto game, I can't think of a better place to be than this. I wanted to create this channel because I didn't see people having the same type of content. Now, it really helps that I have 20 years investing. I understand the principles of investing really well. And so what I found is a lot of crypto YouTubers, some of them have even great channels and they're really good at covering the news and they cover some really good events, but a lot of them don't have the serious investment background. In fact, most of them do not. And so I wanted to cover that. Now, I don't have Goldman Sachs investment background where I work with them. I didn't even interview with them coming out of the university. I could have. I went to work for a consulting firm, and that was a lot more interesting to me, was working at that consulting firm. It's actually one of the largest consulting firms in the world called Accenture, and they actually have some of the best blockchain consulting as well out there. That was some great experience. I did that before going into real estate and then real estate investment. But I'm passionate about investment because it's a way you can go from less money to more money. So if you haven't already, consider subscribing and watching our videos on a regular basis. I know I'm kind of analytical. I can tend to be boring. I try to override that some. I've made you some promises since I started this channel, and I've worked hard to deliver them. I know when I was new in crypto, I really grabbed onto the interviews because I wanted to see the team and I wanted to understand and hear from the team. So I try to bring you a lot of teams and a wide variety of teams. Now the new projects that haven't launched yet, they're a lot more hungry for marketing. It's easier for me to get those interviews if I have a connection to them. And sometimes if it's a really good one that I know is coming out, I don't have a connection to them, I've reached out and been able to pull them in, get them on the channel to share with you. As we continue to get bigger, I'll be able to have, you know, the guests like I love to have, like Charles Hoskinson and some of the other ones, like Raoul Paul. I would love to have Raoul Paul on. He's brilliant. Anyway, I appreciate all of you that are helping this channel grow. It's been fun. As we continue to grow, it'll give us more giveaways. We do have the 401j giveaways that we'll be giving out as we hit closer to 30,000 subscribers. And 401js are essentially, it's a play off the term 401k, which is a savings vehicle used in the United States. And it's just a giveaway that we can do for you. And we secured 5 $200 IDO bags in 2 projects. So $200 a piece. There's a total of 10 between the 2 different projects, and that's Federa and Cortex. Cortex is kind of like Facebook and Unstoppable Domains had a baby, so think of it like that. And Federa has gift cards that you can buy crypto in. They have some distribution agreements around the world, and if you buy the gift cards there and then cash them in, you get a free NFT out of it. So it's a great way for people that are newer in crypto to get extra value, is by buying that card, and then they can get a free NFT with it on top of their crypto. And if they want to hold the Federa token, they can, or they can sell it and get into other things. But if you hold more Federa, then they're going to reward you with higher chances to get the rare NFTs when you cash in your card. So it makes sense for people that want to get those rare ones to hold on to Federa. And I like that. So these allocations, $200 a piece, we don't know what they're worth because neither of these have launched yet. They'll be launching in the next month. And when they do, if they go 10x or 100x, these $200 401js could be worth $2,000 or even $20,000. Or if they go 300x, could be worth $60,000. But the IDO price is usually the lowest price you can get them at. And we went ahead and paid that cost for you. So they're already paid for, and we'll be giving you straight up the tokens. All right. I want to thank you for my Rainmaker family for joining me, and I've got a wrap for all of you. See you soon.
Came into the space chasing all of the gains, chasing the pumps and all of the hype trains. But like in life, you buy before you're good. Was taught to buy when it was boring like a rainmaker should. I buy when it's down, don't chase the boats that I miss. Cause I always make the time in mind. I sit the one out cause I'm patient like that. And I'll wait for the right time. I'll sell when it's high, I buy when it's low. They call me rich, they call me smart. I'm just a rainmaker running the show. Calculated investments, I don't lead with my heart. The principles are simple, they're leaving a mark. Why when it's boring, just gotta be smart. I sell when it's hype, like all the channels they pump it. That's when I was selling, go parabolic and dump it. They call me rich, they call me smart. I'm a rainmaker, making my own start. I'm with the future, learning the past. Makes the time fly by, years going so fast. The game plan is mine, I'll own it now. When I reach the top, haters asking me how. Cause I'm a rainmaker, investments I love. And I follow what I learn, not relying on luck. The time is never better, the time like the present. This next 5 years is a gift and it's feeling like heaven. I'm committed to learn, to study and to know that nothing comes easy but with knowledge to gain show. Sticking out that's wrong cause soon will come a bear market. Learning and growing and when it's slow will be the target. Naysayers come out, Bitcoin is dead. The massive decreases can get to your head. I'm sticking around, the time is better. I'm strong like that, I'll let the others be fretters. In 2 years time the bull will bring back the gains. that makes it worth the effort, cause here comes the rain. So let's go rainmakers, let's make it all happen. Let go of the hate, let the haters be crapping. I'm here for 5 years, let's do this together. The time is right, the time could be better. They call me rich, they call me smart. I'm a rainmaker, making my own start. I'm with the future, learning the past. Makes the time fly by, years going so fast. The game plan is mine, I'll own it now. When I reach the top, haters asking me how. Cause I'm a rainmaker, investments I love. And I follow what I learn, not relying on luck. Haters be hating, but time to slow down. Addressing what they say when I'm wearing my crown. They're chasing green candles like someone who was new. I got a vision that was bigger, helping me to push through. I'm still human and sometimes it is rough. And that's what makes me special, simply I stay tough. Cause I'm a rainmaker, investments I love. And I follow what I learn, not relying on luck.